Hey there, it's author and attorney Kelly O'Connell of Knockout Podcasts. And the name of the show today, Biden's short presidency is already a disaster, but why? And so I'm discussing this president, Joe Biden. And do you think it's too early to claim his tenure is a complete disaster? Of course not. Why? First, he is making the most far-left decisions possible, normally without any explanation or seemingly without any sense of what's this going to be like in the future. So his first day in office, he shuts down the Keystone Pipeline and also while opening the border wide. Now, number two, his support of woke is continuing to tear the country apart, even worse than during the national rioting. Third, is he even running the country? And if I have to ask you that, the answer is no. He is not running the country. So who is running the country? And everybody on the left acts like this doesn't matter, like it's not really happening, or it's a joke, because everything with the left is a joke, but it's not funny. Fourth, he's not even minimally competent now. So what happens if we really get attacked? Who is in charge, I ask you? Now, I'm using an article that I just published yesterday. Israel aflame as Biden's feeble hold on leadership is tested, and does John Kerry's secret anti-Israeli info dump to Iran precipitate a new Holocaust? That's the title. Now, Smug Joe's fast collapsing presidency, and in the midst of the most progressive U.S. leadership in 50 years, enfeebled, partisan, leftist President Joe Biden, well, he's being tested by international terrorists attacking our chief ally Israel, as rockets rain down on Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and with the Temple Mount in flames, the U.S. is at a crossroads. What are we going to do? And this is just days after our main U.S. East Coast gas pipeline was sabotaged and disabled by Russian terrorists. We're told they're Russians. Who knows who they are? And today we found out, after the whole East Coast is shut down and people are getting in fights like they did during the 1970s in lines and gas stations. Well, we found out that the company, Colonial Pipeline, paid off $5 million. So what does that mean? They have the right to do it. They're a private company, but what it means is that now we're a country that's going to get suckered. We never used to negotiate with terrorists. We were above that, but now it's happening. In the meantime, hundreds of thousands of illegals pour over the southern border each month. And so Biden is running a presidency apparently from teleprompters by unknown aides. He appears to be in free fall, headed for certain disaster. Now, is there another way of looking at this? I mean, is there another way of saying this is not really what's happening? I mean, with Obama did a lot of stuff that was smug, that was kind of self-aggrandizing and everything. And he, even though he didn't have the experience, he was able to get people to think that he was a much deeper guy than he was being given credit for. And, that may have been true, except it doesn't seem his decision-making was that deep. So I don't know if you certainly can't call Joe Biden deep. And, so anyway, we're headed for disaster. There's just no doubt about it. The stuff he's doing, the wild deficit spending, and now we've got a spike of 7% inflation after we haven't had inflation for years. And according to Mark Levin, they're doing it for Marxist reasons to take away people's money through inflation. That's the reason that's happening now. In this ship of fools, Biden's ship of fools, during this Hamas attack against Israel, who is America's top ally, do you think it was more of these guys deciding that they were going to get Israel back for what John Kerry said was admitting to more than 200 revenge attacks or whatever onto Syria? Or do you think it's just that Biden looks so weak? And I think it's both. Now, they say in one source in an audio-taped leak on April 25th, Zarif, the prime minister, said that Kerry had told him Israel had attacked Iran's assets in Syria at least 200 times. So you've got this country, Iran, that is the world's most ambitious terrorist nation. And every time they get money, they pour it into terrorism because they're trying to, believe it or not, you're not going to believe this. I wasn't going to get into this, but the Mahdi. The Mahdi is the savior. He is the Messiah coming back to save Islam. He's coming back to save Shia and Sunni. There's variations of this. But they believe that they've got to have basically a World War III. And so the Mahdi goes to Jerusalem, but first he goes to Mecca and Medina. He meets Jesus in Jerusalem, and he says to Jesus, "Will you pray, my Lord?" And Jesus says, "No. Heaven forfend, you need to pray. You're more important than I am." So the Mahdi prays, and then they go out and start kicking butt. But they've got to have this World War III scenario to bring this guy out. And the 12ers, the 7ers, the 12ers, you may have heard associated with Shia. This is this idea that this guy has gone into what they call occultation, which just means into hiding. And even though he's been in hiding for hundreds and hundreds of years, when the time is right, he's going to come back and he is going to kick ass. He's going to join forces with Jesus. So that's why they so badly need to have terrorism, and they need to attack Jerusalem. And the last thing to remember is they believe that the Christians are wrong, obviously, and so what they're going to do is when Jesus and the Mahdi join forces, they're going to go out and they're going to kick the ass of everybody, including the Christians. They're going to kill Christians because they were wrong about Jesus. Now, it's obvious from Biden's shaky acumen, his inability to understand things, his dull speeches, his disastrous live comments, and transparently buffaloed style, depending on a cadre of socialist advisors, that he is not in charge and he's not with it. It all leads to the sense that doddering Captain Biden is plowing his ship of fools into the shark-filled, reef-studded waters without rafts, life preservers, flares, or radios. It's a Keynesian Titanic guided by tax-infatuated Joe, Mad King George Biden, memorialized by Pravda, fed by Cesar Chavez, commissioned by the Marx Brothers. And I bring up Mad King George because he's the one who taxed us into attacking him, right? The tea taxes and the whiskey taxes and all those other taxes that they gave us. And finally we said, enough is enough. We're going to war. Now, they claim that it is Russia who's disabled the U.S. pipeline. Somewhere in Russia. Now, they say nothing happens in Russia unless Biden gives it his thumbs up. So, but why is it, I got to ask you, they say that the Colonial Pipeline is so important, but the Keystone Pipeline is a terrible pipeline and could not be finished because it was going to do so much to pollute, which is totally false, of course. But they shut that Keystone Pipeline down, and now what do we have? What's the problem now? What's going on? Well, you shut that pipeline down. That was 850,000 barrels of oil every day. And in Whitmer's, Michigan, she's trying to shut down the L5 pipelines that they say are old and need to be worked on. But why would you pull them right now? Why would you disconnect them now when we've already got a fuel shortage? And you see, it didn't take much to shut everything down. And this stuff was not happening during Trump. You can hate the guy's guts, but give him some credit, folks. Give my man some credit. And so one pipeline is bad, but the other is good. It just doesn't make any sense. And now they want to shut down the Dakota pipeline. They want to shut down the L5 in Michigan. It's terrible. So didn't they say that, Didn't they say that the number one policy for Biden coming in, wasn't it? Come on, folks. What was it? You remind me. It was COVID, wasn't it? All right, so that's not true anymore because we got a border that's wide open and 10% of the population's coming in. They've got COVID. And they're wrapping them up like baked potatoes, right? And stacking them on top of each other like cordwood. They're all getting COVID from this, and you're going to spread these people out across the United States like they're doing, like they have a right to do this. Why do they have a right to break the laws? Why does the government have the right to break the law, but we would get just torn to shreds? But think about this. Now that the border's open, and now we got Russia nipping at our heels, we got China that we know is against us, and Hamas, who's trying to blow up Israel, also hates our guts. Why don't they just waltz across the border? Now, listen to this. They say, well, we care about the kids. We want these kids to come in here. Did you know 30% of immigrant women coming in across the southern border report sexual abuse? Also, think about it. If you were a pedophile in the United States, if you were a pedophile in South America or in Mexico, or maybe in anywhere in the world, wouldn't you think about coming to the border to pick up a little boy or girl that you could then just drive off with? There's no record of them. Nobody knows where they are. Or just rape them, kill them, mutilate them, whatever. I mean, isn't that the worst thing you've ever heard of? Trump was a monster for locking kids in cages. Now, that just seems like it's such a quaint idea. At least a kid had a cage. Now you've got rooms that are built for 10 or 20 people, and they've got hundreds in each room. So that's just one thing on the border. Now, if we get attacked by, it could be anybody, it's anybody who's on the China level, on the Russia level. It could be somebody from the Middle East, and most certainly could be terrorists. What is Joe Biden going to do? He acts like he doesn't even know what day it is. And I'm not kidding. I am not kidding in the least. So we've got this guy, and he's so out of it. It's like you wake him up from a coma every day, and he's halfway in a coma still. He's got doxology. He's got this leftist religion in his mind. Makes bad leadership decisions. The people driving him are even farther left than he is. And it's just not adding up, folks. And I'm also worried about Israel, they could get all these countries together again and do another 6-day war and try to kill Israel this time. And who would stand up to it, These people on the far left are famously indifferent to our allies. So think about it. Joe Biden, number one, he is stopped a lot of things that were successful when Trump was in office. He opened up the border. Now you got 200,000. You got 2 million people coming across each year, roughly. They're instant Democrats just add hot water. And then you've got the problem with the economy where you're paying people to stay home. So we only had 250,000 new jobs last week, whatever it was. And it's a complete disaster. Now, there's nothing that happens that you ask Joe Biden about it, and he says, you're right, we've got a problem with that, we'll fix it. It's always, you're too stupid to realize what the truth is. We don't have a problem on the border. It's an opportunity. We're making the most of it. And these people are not staying home because they're getting paid more, even though they're getting paid more. It's just something that's naturally happening. So now you've got international terrorism is licking its chops. This guy's feeble. What are we going to do? Why in the name of the devil would you want to bring in someone who looks like they're past time to get into a retirement home and get rid of somebody who is just full of energy and ideas? And it's far leftism. They want to recreate the Soviet Union here. They want a utopia, and all this leftism, all the woke, all of the critical race theory, and the utopian global warming, and all of these other things that we're defending, race theory and all these other things. We're fighting for that stuff while the world is sneaking up behind us with a huge bat and ready to just whack us in the head and take us out of our misery. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm trying to keep these short, and this one is exactly on the button, 15 minutes. So thanks for tuning in, Kelly O'Connell. Oh, and I do have, by the way, a few clips of Joe here if I can get them loaded.
Thank you.
Well, Gov, thank you. Thank you. I think that it's remarkable what you're doing. And, excuse me. Well, I'll get back. I want to hear from Mike first, then I want to ask you both a question, if I may. Well, thank you both for what you guys are doing. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Governor Mills is that the idea of engaging in and offering benefits like everything from fishing licenses on, my guess is free tickets and vouchers, my guess is that's probably going to work. I mean, do you have any?
New Jersey.
Can I ask you, both of you, one last question? I'm sorry to take so long here, but I'm interested. Tell me about what the mobile vaccine unit is like. I mean, are you driving around in a with docs in a pickup truck, or I mean, no, I mean deadly earnest for people. This is being zoomed. That talk to me about. If you each tell me what you're doing. Mike, how about you? Tell me about your efforts and what how it practically is functioning, what you're seeing. I think, Jeff, we're going to be moving on that in the next little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we expect more and more guidance from the CDC for vaccinated people.
One of the things, Tim, what are you seeing up in your state? That, you know, that in fact, anyway, I'll let you do the talking here. Tell me, if you don't mind, give me your opinion whether you think Lyft and you know, these two outfits are going to. I think that they're going to be other pandemics, and we've got to. And I'm dealing with other world leaders about how we're going to deal with it, because you can't build a wall high enough to keep a virus out. They're mRNA vaccines, as well as applying it to other diseases as well, and some of them communicable diseases. But at any rate, we've tried like hell. No, I really mean it. We've tried like hell to include and engage every country in the world is now looking to us. They're a good bunch.
Excellent.
They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.